He's an actor from Syracuse, New York. He was recently casted in the upcoming film FABIOLA. This is going to be a historical drama film with an estimated budget of $1.2 million. Today, I'm joined by Kaleb McConner. Kaleb, thank you for coming out here.
Thank you for having me, sir. Appreciate it.
So, how exactly did you get into acting? What made you decide you wanted to do it?
You know, I've always had that kind of feeling of creativity when I was younger, but I never really got into acting until junior year. You know, I did like the occasional YouTube videos. You check the behind the scenes of things, how things are made. You know, being 12, 13 years old, you see Iron Man for the first time. You're like, oh my God, there's missiles and things are flying around, and you want to check it out, and then you just realize it's just green screen and special effects. So it's a little dimming at first, but you get to understand what goes into it. And that's what I did. And then I always had stage fright, but what got me into acting was just kind of conquering that stage fright. And I did my first theatrical performance in junior year of high school. And then from then, I just kind of liked everything from the makeup, getting into character, you know, the cast, the people, the community. And then it just kind of sprouted into something that I didn't even realize that I could do myself. Starting out, you have no idea where you're going to go.
So you started doing theatrical dramas in high school before you did anything in front of the camera?
Yeah, well, that was pre-COVID. I did a couple shows before COVID. I did, my first show was Sherlock Holmes and the Bohemian Love Affair, which is like an adaptation of Sherlock Holmes, but it was for high school. And then my second one was Midsummer's Night's Dream by Shakespeare. That's a good one. I played Francis Flute, the bellows mender, but Midsummer's Night's Dream is a play within a play. So I also played Thisbe, who was like a female, and I had like a dress on and everything, and like a wig and stuff, so that was pretty cool. And then I actually got scouted out for my third theatrical performance, A Lion in Winter. I actually played Prince John, and I got to play like this medieval kind of character, young guy who's going to be taking the throne after his father dies. And then from there, COVID hit, and didn't really know what to do, so I just kind of studied, read books, did stuff, whatever I could because there was nothing going on. I mean, everything was shut down. So I tried to keep myself busy by just reading up on things, watching YouTube videos, content, and then I did my first short film probably about 6 months after COVID started. So it segued me right into film.
So you analyzed, I take it during COVID, you probably did, well, at least what I did, analyzed films heavily, being like, okay, how do I work on the craft and everything?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, you know, we'll probably get into this question maybe a little bit later, but theater and film are completely different. I mean, they're completely two different beasts. You look at theater and it's more live performance, it's more in the moment. There's not as many, like you think Hollywood with major films, you got these big sound stages and CGI and all that. Theatrical is there in the moment, and yeah, the sets change and the people change their outfits, but for the most part, it's one setting. So it's not different days or anything like that. When you go watch a show, you watch a 2.5 hour show. But when you make a movie, it could take 6 months to make a movie. So it's a lot different.
I mean, do you have any favorite actors, movies that, you know, really inspired you? Well, you mentioned Iron Man, so that sounds like a start.
I do like the movie Iron Man. I particularly don't necessarily like Robert Downey Jr. that much. I mean, I think as an actor, he's a good actor, but you know,
he's the same guy every time. Is that what you're getting at?
Well, like a Ryan Reynolds. You know what I mean? Like he can do what he can. But you know, I respect him. He's a good actor, and I think for the most part, he kind of carried Marvel for a long time. I mean, Iron Man is the center of Marvel pretty much, and I think they could have found a different guy to do it? Maybe, but I think, you know, from what he had, he did fine. Favorite actors? I actually have a top 10 actors of all time. Ready? Top 10 actors of all time. Okay, we got Leonardo DiCaprio number 1, Jack Nicholson number 2, Anthony Hopkins number 3, Daniel Day-Lewis number 4, and Denzel Washington number 5. Those are my top 5. I won't go in the top 10 because we're crunch on time. But my favorite actors, personally, are James McAvoy. You know who that is?
Yeah.
James McAvoy's great. Angelina Jolie, John Malkovich, Nick Nolte, Forrest Whitaker.
The last two I'd be fuzzy.
So Nick Nolte, he was in a great movie called Warrior with Tom Hardy. And Nick Nolte is a phenomenal actor, and his performance in that was great. It's Warrior. You should look it up. Watch it sometime. Forrest Whitaker is the guy who, you know, you see him. He has like the little lazy eye that's droopy a little bit. He's a bigger, heavier set black guy. But he has like the lazy eye that drips down. He's an Oscar winner. He won his Oscar for Last King of Scotland, which also James McAvoy's in. So it's a great movie. And then Angelina Jolie, obviously, she's probably one of the best female actresses of all time. And I look up to her work quite a bit. And my favorite movies like Wanted and Interstellar. I like Interstellar a lot, Wanted, and I would say I like this movie called Ready Player One. Yeah. It's a video game-based movie, but it's also really cool between reality and virtual reality. So I like that concept, especially me being a young guy, playing video games a lot. So cool. I like the connection.
Yeah. So like who would you want to act with? It seems like these people are the people you'd want to act with if you were casted in a movie.
Yeah, I'd probably want to act with James McAvoy the most, to be honest with you. James McAvoy is a pretty big inspiration of mine, just because I think he's so underappreciated. I don't think he's won any Oscars. I don't know if he's actually been nominated either, but he's had great performances in a lot of different films. And I don't know. I just think that he's really good. I would love to work with. I'm going to look at the camera right here. I would love to work with you, James, someday. Just, if you see this podcast, I don't know. Yeah. But James McAvoy for sure, or Angelina Jolie, or Jake Gyllenhaal. I do like Jake Gyllenhaal too. He's a great actor himself. So.
Well, his last name sounds a lot like your last name, so I'm going to segue into that.
Yeah.
Your last name was Gilliland. I pronounced it correct?
No. Your
last name...
Gilliland.
Gilliland. Okay, so that is your last name, but in IMDb you changed it.
I did.
Why did you change it for the new actor profile name?
To McConner?
Yes.
So the reson why I actually changed it to McConner, and this is quite interesting. I think I could talk a lot about it, but I'm going to try and shorten it. Like Nicolas Cage. Nicolas Cage is not actually Nicolas Cage. That's not his name. He has an alias that in Hollywood then he uses for like a screen name, in the credits. Me personally, I wanted to change it from Gilliland to McConner is because, well, one, I kind of didn't really want people to know my last name, but going into this business, people are going to find out what your last name is. But that kind of died pretty soon. But the reason why I changed it to McConner was because my mom, when I was born, she wanted me to have two middle names, Kaleb Andrew Connor Gilliland. But on my birth certificate, it's only Kaleb Andrew Gilliland. So I used the Connor part from what my mom was going to give me. And then the MC in front of the Connor part comes just from Scottish-Irish background, as you can tell. I don't know if you guys can tell.
It's fairly easy to find out.
Right. Yeah, so I did it in Scottish background because there's a lot of MC prefixes in Scottish and Irish culture. So I did that. Also, my grandma's maiden name is McNamara and McAvoy, James McAvoy.
Yeah.
Favorite actor. So I did it kind of in regards to that. I changed it as an alias for movies.
So let's talk about Fabiola. You were casted as Fulvius. He's the villain. What drew you to play him?
Well, when I first auditioned for the movie Fabiola, I actually auditioned for two individuals. One was Sebastian, one was Fulvius. And the two characters couldn't be any more different. Sebastian is a young soldier, Christian soldier, and Fulvius is like the complete opposite. He's kind of a ruthless, sly, condescending individual, and he tries to get his way by hiring other people to do his dirty work. So knowing that after I got casted as Fulvius, because again, I auditioned for both, when I got casted as Fulvius, looking at the script, the full script, reading through the full script, I realized that there's going to be a lot of things about this character that, one, I would have to work on, prep for, but two, he is not a good individual until the end. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Okay, all right.
A little sneak peek in there.
How did you prepare for this role? How are you preparing for this role?
Looking at the script and whatnot, the challenges of this role is going into it, when you audition, you only have, a certain set of lines for the sides, and then you perform them, and then from there, if you get casted, you get the full project, the full 150 pages or whatever the script is. The challenges is that I didn't know that I was actually the most screened character in the movie. So I actually have the most screen time, the most lines. Although the film is called Fabiola, and there's an actress in there playing a character named Fabiola. So that was the challenges. How I'm prepping for the role is how I'd kind of prep any other role. I have a certain system that is my own when it comes to when I get a script, when I get work, what do I do? And most of that is just simple things like, how every, batter and MLB, they have a certain thing that they do in the plate to get, comfortable. it's kind of like that in a way that I have certain things that I do when it comes to preparing for roles. It could be simple as reading the script when I'm tired and reading the script when I'm energetic. Reading the script in two different, not the whole script, but parts of the script. When you read it in two different emotions that you're feeling at the time, you could look at the script differently at that time. So I like to try and get a vast understanding of the character. And then from there, it's just simple, okay, what's the characteristics given to me from the director that they want on the character? And then from there, I pick and choose, or I focus a couple ones and really perfect those. And then from there, it just kind of funnels. And again, when you're on set and you're doing stuff, well, one thing that Fulvius is he's an improviser. He uses a lot of improvisation as a character. That's a character trait of his. So that's great as an actor for me, because on set I can say something and improvise it on the day, on the time. But other than just doing my own prep work at home, if the director has something for me to do, that they would vocalize that, and then I would do my very best to persuade it on the screen.
Are there any scenes in particular that you're excited for?
Oh man, there's quite a bit of scenes that I'm in. Particularly, I am pretty excited about this one scene, and funny about this one scene actually is that I read for this scene I auditioned for this scene. So I read the scene as Sebastian though, and not Fulvius. So it's actually cool because now it's flipped. Two different characters, two different ways of approaching the scene. But my favorite scene that I'm actually looking forward to read with is Sebastian and Fulvius when they're talking about the humaneness. Humaneness. I don't know if that's a word or not. How humane
entertainment.
So how humane the entertainment is, because in that time, they had people fight animals or people fight people and kill one another for the people's entertainment. And Fulvius is, again, that very sly, cunning individual, and he thinks that what's best for the people is what's best for the kingdom. So he thinks, well, killing individuals for entertainment's fine. But Sebastian, who is a Christian secretly, but he's also a young soldier, he does not think that killing people, innocent people, should be entertainment for other people. So he has the more humane aspect of that. So I'm really excited because the scene itself has a lot of tension dynamic, and if done well, it's going to be one of the best scenes in the film, I would say.
What people are you excited to work with on set?
Yeah, there's this one individual, her name's Ryan Mahaney. She's a professional actor from LA, I believe, actually. She auditioned with me. She actually auditioned for FABIOLA, and I thought she did amazing. And I was hoping, because we don't know the results, as actors when you're casting, until you get casted. When you get casted, you're like, okay, who else got casted? You know what I mean? So you want to see who's going to be in the film with you. And I was just hoping that she either got FABIOLA or was in the film in general. And she is in the film. She's Sarah, or Syra.
Syra.
Yeah, Syra. She's cast as Sarah, which is perfect for her, because if you look at the character development chart, she pretty much nailed all those things for reading for FABIOLA. But I got to audition with her, and I think just the energy she brings to the scenes that she was in was great. So I'm actually really excited to work with her. And obviously there's other people in the film. I'm just excited to see new people, meet new people, work with new people. Mary, the director, and Faustina Bowen. I'm excited to see what they can bring to the table and how they approach this film. The film is FABIOLA is based off of a book written by Cardinal Wiseman, and it's been adapted in Italian and French, but and dubbed in English, but it's never been made in English. So I'm hoping, I'm really excited to, one, be a part of it, but see, two, how they approach it. I think it's going to be pretty cool to watch.
FABIOLA is an independent film. Mm-hmm. It's not a Hollywood film. So given your experience just as an actor, what do you see are the differences between Hollywood, the way they do things, and the way independent films, their companies, their directors, actors, what do you see do you see any differences?
Yeah, there's quite a bit of differences. Now, I haven't done anything on the regards of Hollywood side. You're talking like $100 million budget, like an Avengers Endgame, you know what I mean? Or like an Oppenheimer or something like that. I haven't been on the acting front of Hollywood film yet, so I can't necessarily tell you in depth what the differences between Hollywood and independent is, but I can, from the outside looking in, you can simply see the facts of Hollywood's mostly star-studded acting, big Hollywood names, big faces, a lot of marketing, a lot of things going on when it comes to presses and commercials and stuff of that nature. But it's also, they have massive budgets behind them and like the most top-tier equipment of all time making those movies possible. Independent films are mostly just individuals who have a very high passion for acting or directing or writing, and they come together in a smaller group and they try to make magic out of, not much. Luckily enough, if we do raise all the money that we're trying to get, $1.2 million is nothing to shy away from. That's a lot of money, and we're grateful for people who are donating to make this movie possible. But, I've worked on projects that are $5,000 films, $10,000 films. The recent project that I worked on last summer was $55,000. So that's the highest film I've actually been a part of until this one now. But I can tell you the differences in independence is mostly just people who have a strong passion. They wake up and they're not going to maybe get a lot of money back, but they're there trying to create something for the world to see. And then also, the reason why I act as well is sometimes I want people to see my work, and I want people, maybe a scout, to be like, oh yeah, he's a good actor. Let me see if he wants to audition for this, Hollywood picture. Get him to that next level of work. So the main differences, though, are really just the budget and the equipment and the time. Usually independent films or short films or something like that can be done in 2 weeks, while major motion pictures are like, I don't know, probably they shoot over an 8-month to year span. Like it's like a whole process. Like if you were a teacher for a year, you're teaching for a year, but the actor is acting for like 8 to 10 months, maybe even 12 for the whole year of that one film. So there's just longevity as well. So those are pretty much the big differences in that regard between independent and Hollywood films.
Well, I can go into either one or two hot take questions.
A little yapper right there.
So
that's all right.
What do you think Hollywood needs to work on? What do you think they could be doing better, maybe more efficiently? Do you have any ideas on that?
I wouldn't say if they're doing anything more efficiently. I would say things that I would change is, I think change in reality is, you see a lot of actors and a lot of people at that higher level really, they love the art of acting, and they say that they love it and they want to help other people, but you don't really see a lot of that. I feel like Mel Gibson is a great example. Mel Gibson has done a lot of funding to smaller independent films because of his he's Christian. He's Christian, and he believes in film, and he believes in acting, and he believes in the art. But a lot of people, they just say that they want to help, but they really don't. So I think if there's anything that Hollywood could change is be more open to people who don't have the funding, but they might not have the funding, but they have the ideas and the creativity behind it, and help them. Help them along. Don't just, because if you think about it, it's a monopoly. Like Hollywood is overshadowing pretty much everything that an independent person does by a long shot, because they have a lot better equipment budget, like we talked about. So I don't know. The change, I would just say maybe help them a bit more, fund them, or give them pointers, and really be, because you guys at the end of the day are part of the same group, just different stages.
I mean, what do you think of artificial intelligence in the industry? Now, my personal opinion is just there's a use for it. You can make visual effects a lot more, getting rid of those tedious, time-consuming processes. So I see use for it there. I'm not just like, no, don't use it. Yeah. But I personally see a use for it there. But what do you see AI doing to the acting industry? What do you see
to the acting in general, just like the acting?
I guess, yeah.
Okay, because you're talking more about like on the editing aspect, right?
Yeah, but I guess I was trying to play devil's advocate, because usually when people say AI, it's kind of like a negative, you always see, oh no, the apocalypse, but...
Yeah, I think AI is very important. When it comes to writing, I know that there was this big Writers Guild strike when it came to people losing their jobs over AI, because AI is artificial intelligence, they're smart, and they were basically just writing movies and scripts for individuals and taking away their creativity. So on the writing aspect, I could see where it can really overtake them. On the acting aspect, I really don't think, I'm going to be honest, I really don't think that AI personally, not unless I see like massive like test of it, I don't think it will overtake acting and people's acting in general, because I only believe that humans are capable of showing human emotions more than a computer. Yeah. So you would rather have a human, be in that role than a computer or generated person. Now, is that to say that people can't get super skilled at it, and it could like a whole AI movie could be generated? For sure. I think that it's a possibility, but will it be as good? I don't think so.
Yeah, I think people would see right through it if they released a whole AI movie. I think people would just not even go anymore. So ironically enough, maybe the industry doesn't even have an incentive to even attempt such a task.
In a way, but also you look at the performances of the human beings. Like you look at Denzel Washington, right? Denzel Washington in Training Day was amazing. Now, if it becomes a problem if you have like an AI generated Denzel Washington that has like the same voice and the same features and is doing the same thing on the screen, I usually go watch a movie because of the people within the movie. If I'm going to go watch a movie that is AI generated, well, one, can I tell it's AI generated? And two, is it good like Denzel would do it or something along that nature? So if AI does take over, it's got to be like almost perfect and precise to what a human can do, because if not, people might see through it and they're like, well, I don't want to go to the theaters to see AI generated Denzel when I can go to the theater and see Denzel. So good question, but I don't really know if AI is going to be capable of taking a humanly emotion role, I guess, in films.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, since we're on the topic of talking about AI and editing and stuff like that, tell me a little bit more about your role in Fabiola, because you also work on the project as well. You're part of the camera crew, and you also do visual effects. You're lead visual effects. So what is your role in Fabiola, and what are you most excited to work on?
Well, I mean, right now I'm basically just learning visual effects. I've been trying, especially since January, so it's basically going into a whole new industry because before I didn't do any of that. Like, you see things online, but none of the things I've ever done really required a whole lot of visual effects.
Sure.
And if it did, it was, you could put in kind of crummy, it didn't really matter. It was like, do a little bit and call it a day. But
so you're learning as you go, and you're learning new things that you're going to then apply to this.
Right. So the cool thing is that anything I learn here can be applied even after Fabiola. So, lately it's really just trying to figure out, okay, you want to master green screen, you want to master this or that, and it's trying to like basically figure out from now on, like, what can I actually do that will, work on every film afterwards.
Right, because then after the film's done, I mean, you want to have someone with the education that you've learned, the things that you learned, you want to apply to other things.
Yeah, and I think that, I mean, it's like, because that so many other people do that stuff, but it's like, the thing is, I never knew, and it's good to do that because you also feel more empowered, really. You feel like, okay, maybe I don't have to limit myself as much on future things, and you don't feel as much like you have to change the story or change the camera angle because, oh no, I don't know how to do green screen or composite this. It's like, I don't want to do that.
So would you say that you're learning a vast majority of different things kind of within the same bubble?
It's crazy. It's almost everything. It's like, you're doing things in Blender, that software, where you're learning, like, whether it's texturing, green screen, and it really seems like I'm just doing everything. Well, yeah, no, and that's crazy because there's advanced techniques, but I just never actually learn them, and it can be complicated, but, I just want to be able to get through that and do it for myself for once.
Right, and then how does that apply to Fabiola? What are you most excited about doing for Fabiola on that front? Like, what are you most excited? Because you're coming to Idaho too. Yeah, and if anyone doesn't know, the film's actually being shot in Idaho, and we're both in Buffalo right now.
Yeah, so we're gonna have to be doing a little bit of travel. Yeah. So, but I would say the more exciting thing is probably just going to be filming it. Because visual effects, I mean, it's just a tedious process.
Sure. Pulling your hair out every day.
Yeah, literally. But ultimately, it's just going to be. The nice thing is that with their style, their directing style, from what I would imagine is, they're going to be their take on this, but they're not going to be going for a run and gun type thing where you're running with a handheld shoulder mount thing. Right. So there will be a lot of pros to it, So if characters are having a conversation and you have green screen or blue screen behind them, the most I'll have to worry about is like, okay, you have the green screen behind them, is it lit properly? And then just replace the background. So that's the good thing, is that we're not doing drone through Rome.
Well, it's good because what you're saying is confusing me. So I'm glad that you're the one studying this, because I'm just acting, and it's like me when I have certain techniques that I would like to apply, I like to tend to keep those techniques for any other film that I might approach.
Well, people have I would say visual effects people have their niches where it's like, oh, I'm in texturing or I'm a compositor, but I'm basically having to jump into all these different pools, having to learn everything. And technology is getting better, but now it's just a matter of how efficient can you get it? Sure. How much easier can it be?
I think we could tell the people here something pretty interesting about us, because you being on this film as well, but us being in two different categories, you're being part of the camera crew, but also lead visual effects, me being an actor, we've had kind of experience together with each other filming stuff. Actually, in this spot that we're in right now, should we tell the people what we've done in the past together?
Well, it's been 4 years, so I don't know if you want to start or if you want me to start.
I'll start. I mean, 4 years ago, I just got into, I mean, this was 2025 now. COVID was end of 2019, early 2020.
Yeah, so 2021 spring.
Yeah, so a little bit after COVID happened, I was getting back into the filming stuff, and I saw this ad on Facebook, and it was Mr. Ryan and his brother, and they were doing their senior thesis, correct?
It was mine, but he could work with me. Yeah.
Right, but it was your senior thesis for Buffalo University, right?
Buffalo State. Yeah.
Buffalo State. So you guys had a project, and we worked on Horseman Black Death. The film was called. I played the villain. Wouldn't you know?
Yeah. Right.
I guess villains follow me everywhere. But yeah, that's all I have to say. Would you like to add something?
I mean, it was a wild first time where you actually get to have full control. The only problem is it was still very rushed, because it's like there's only so much you can do when you're trying to fit too much. So it was an issue on my part, but also I just like doing a lot of shots.
I was just about to say that you and your brother on the same set together, you guys were like, good together. But I remember how many takes we did for certain things, like, okay, now you're going to hold the car as he's driving away. And, stuff like that. And I was like, because at the time I was still such a new actor. I was like, man, what is taking so long? Like, why is this shouldn't take this long. But then when I saw the final result, it was amazing. I mean, the film was great. Visually, it was amazing. And I was very happy with it. And I got to appreciate why it took so many takes, because you guys covered your whole aspect of what you needed to do. And this place in particular, I don't really like that much, because I was held captive here.
Well, it was also I was in a sneezing fit rage, and, so we definitely had our share. We had our fair share of, suffering on the set and having to deal with, calling and not having a location after. It was just a mess, but ultimately it was a great learning experience.
Good learning experience, and it was fun. It was fun, and I got to meet you guys and stuff like that. But this basement in particular was one of the last scenes that we shot. We were in this basement, so it's kind of weird, doing the podcast down here, coming back 4 years later to the exact same spot. It's pretty cool though. I do like it. But yeah, that's our history, Ryan and I, and we've worked together on other films, and it's kind of weird. It's a full circle thing now that we're working on this project together, because also your brother heard the ad for Fabiola over the radio. Told you about it. Mm-hmm. You got interested because it's a high faith Christian Catholic type film, and then you were nice enough to send it to me, and I was like, I haven't done any acting in a while. Let me give it a shot. And I auditioned, and I got the part, and then you got hired.
It worked. I mean,
it worked, and now we're here, full circle. 4 years later, another project together.
So what are your best and worst experiences on set? I don't know which one you want to take, because worst is more entertaining, so we'll save the best for last, but you can do whichever order you want.
2 moments were my best, and I was actually talking about this last night with my girlfriend. Last night I was talking about how there was a moment in time where it was just not necessarily a best moment, per se, but it was like a moment of just contentness and bliss. I was on this set for the film called Landscape, and we were shooting all day long. I mean, I think we started at 9 a.m. and we didn't finish until 2:30 the next morning. Long day. And at that time, actors and directors and people of whatever would be very tired, and everyone's starting to get a little annoyed with each other and a little more snippy. But at the end of the day, we come back to this idea that we're here making this film together, and that we want to create something to show the world creative-wise. And so, it was a moment of, it was like 1:30 in the morning, 1 o'clock, something like that. and everyone was getting a little snippy with one another because we had all different ideas about how the scene should kind of go down, and the director was telling me notes, but I was like, well, I kind of like this, and I really think this would be good for the character. And in that moment, you know, when all the dust settled, you're sitting there, and you're thinking, okay, well, it's 1 a.m. I've been shooting all day, but I'm getting paid for this, and I'm around people with the same passion as me, and we're creating something that everyone is passionate about and also has full faith in. It was just one of those moments where you're completely content, no matter if you're tired or ornery or whatever, you're more content than anything. And it was a moment of, I am doing what I thought I could never do. Because you're talking about the kid who had stage fright in junior year, who just took a shot and went for it. And then COVID happened, he switched over to film, and I never thought that I would be where I am today. I know it sounds kind of corny or whatever, but you know, you don't expect these things when you first start them. And so you're like, okay, I'm working on a project. I'm filming late with a director who hired me because he thinks I'm talented enough to, you know, bring to life a character he wrote, and I'm getting paid, and I'm going home after this, and I get to do all this thing with these people. And then the second moment that was a really good experience for me was I was on set of a project called On Fire, and I was on this set, and I remember going to Montclair State University where I was shot in New Jersey. And I remember going there to the campus, and we were filming in a soundstage that is in the campus itself, which is cool. It was like a smaller soundstage. It's not like massive, you know, stage 4 of Warner Brothers, right? But it's a smaller, like, little soundstage, and we were filming in there. But I remember when I first arrived there was this big, massive window next to this, like, eating hall. And from there, you can see New York City skyline, the whole thing. So from that moment, I was like, wow, this is a really cool moment. And again, realizing that I'm there in New Jersey, I drove 4 hours to film just in that moment. It was really cool. So that was some of my best experiences on sets. You know, the cool, memorable moments, the good ones. There's a couple bad ones. The bad ones. Here we go. The entertaining part. There was an individual that I worked for, and I'm not going to say any names because I'm respectful in that aspect, but it was just not a really good experience in general. I was in the process of doing a self-tape for a person who worked at who didn't work, was a college at Harvard University. So you're thinking Harvard, Ivy League school, amazing, because there's a lot of attention around Harvard. Me as a young actor, I'm like, I might get maybe noticed from this, you know? So I'm thinking, and I get the role, and I'm really excited. Now I have to go to Cleveland, Ohio to shoot this film because that's where her home is, but she, you know, commutes to Harvard in the school time. So we go there, and we're in Cleveland. I'm there with my buddy, and while my initial film time was supposed to be 9 p.m., which is already late, but I actually got pushed to 11 p.m., and then I was there until 3:30 in the morning in downtown Cleveland. Didn't know where I was, and the people were very unprofessional. Again, I'm not going to name any names. Very unprofessional, very, very mean, and they didn't treat the talent like how they should have. Not just myself either, some other people. And it was not the greatest experience. I enjoyed the arcade in Cleveland that I went to with my buddy rather than that film. I would rather have stayed in that car because it takes about 6.5 hours to get to Cleveland. I would rather drive 12 and a half, 13 hours straight than be in that film again. And that's pretty harsh to say. But that was my worst experience on set. I have other ones too, but I won't get into them because I can't really remember them to a full T. But you said worst experience. That one is the one that sticks out to me the most. So,
what advice do you have for aspiring actors, people who want to get into this industry, and, you know, because obviously no one's going to get right to the top, maybe except a few, but,
sure.
You know, if someone just wants to start out and say, you know, maybe I've done high school plays, you know, what can they do?
Well, the biggest thing, and, you know, I've only been, so take this with a grain of salt, everybody. I'm not going to act like I know it all here. I've only been acting seriously for about 4 years, so I can only speak on my experience of what I know. The best advice I can give a young actor is don't think you're the best on the set. That's number one. It's a team effort. I don't care if you are Leonardo DiCaprio. Leonardo DiCaprio knows his worth. He's talented, but he's not gonna be in a scene with a person who might not be Leonardo DiCaprio and treat them differently. When your guys are there on the set, you guys are all there working collaboratively to make something special. That's one of the best things I can give advice on. Number two is just just practice your lines. Script reading, preparation. It's like a test. You know that anxiety when you had school and you had a test and you did not do that, you didn't study properly, and you're like, well, now I'm not going to get the right score. It's the same thing. You just study your lines. You have in your head what you're going to do, how you're going to approach it, and don't be afraid to take risks. Like with improvisation and stuff, if you think that there's a good scene and where you can add something to the story by saying something off script, do it. The worst thing that can happen is the director yells cut, like it happened to me on one of my films. I added in a line and they were like, cut, as soon as I got done saying, they're like, Kaleb, don't do that. All right, let's roll again. That's simple. So, and then you have to realize, don't get mad at them not liking your improvisation, but, say, okay, that wasn't the right thing to do. I'm going to go into the scene normally now. So those are my best advices, is probably just practice your script, learn it, be comfortable in that, prepare well. Don't think you're the best on the set. Everyone's collaborating to do the same thing. And then also, I would say, just like normal work things, just be on time. If you have a certain call time, be to set on time, or even a little bit before. Just because you're an actor doesn't mean you can't help out around the set. Everyone has their own jobs. Like camera crew has their job, or prop designer, or prop manager. Yeah, like a costume designer or whatever has their own jobs. But if there's things on the set that you can help with and you're okay, like you're studied up, you can help people. It shows that you have initiative into the film and not just acting, like you're a human being. So that's probably my set of advices for young actors. And then obviously, just if you're passionate about it, just keep doing it. Literally never stop. I unfortunately can't go at 100% at it because I have a full-time job. But that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm not doing stuff to keep the flame lit about acting. Always do stuff that obtains to what you love to do.
So what's the independent film? What's the scene looking like in Syracuse, Buffalo?
Like the acting.
Are they big like film hotspots? Like what's the story right now?
Yeah, I mean, I would say some are bigger than others. Buffalo is definitely bigger than Syracuse. Syracuse is more.
Maybe
actually,
Rochester.
Yeah, I don't really actually know about Rochester. I feel like Rochester is the outlier. I don't really hear much coming from Rochester. I hear some actors that come from Rochester to Buffalo,
Yeah, that's probably.
But I don't hear a lot going on in Rochester besides RIT. They have like obviously, senior films and stuff like short films. But for the most part, the scene in Buffalo is starting to grow pretty well. I think they just made like a $50 million couple sound stages out there actually, where what they're doing is they're actually trying to get business from Hollywood to film in Buffalo. Not only is that going to give directors, actors, writers, people of the arts to have jobs, but also how cool would that be if like Lord of the Rings spinoff shot in Buffalo? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
right here.
you can have the soundstage, but also it's the price thing, because you look at LA.
Yeah.
LA's literally expensive everywhere. And the sound stages are probably a lot of money. But if you go to Buffalo, it's cheaper. So you can make the same movie at a cheaper price. So I think to answer your question, I think that the film scene is a lot bigger in Buffalo when it comes to films, and it's getting there. But Syracuse is very close on its tail with like American High. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. I've auditioned a couple times for American High. They're a film production crew out of a old high school, actually. The high school was abandoned, and then the film production bought the high school. They have like gymnasium, and they have like their own green screen sound thing, and they basically have the whole high school and like the football field and the baseball field. So they shoot films out there, and some of their films have been on Hulu, and some of their films have been on different streaming services that you probably scroll past every day. But the director himself, I can't remember his name. He directed Murder Mystery 2 with Jennifer Aniston and Adam Sandler. So he's kind of making waves in that regard. So Syracuse, Buffalo, very similar scenes. I would say, Syracuse has its film scene, but also has Syracuse stage, like a lot of off-Broadway, and also has the Landmark where a lot of Broadway shows come. I don't really know if Buffalo has that. I don't live here, so I don't really know. Do you guys have like Broadway stuff that comes here?
Well, there's Shays Performing Arts Theater.
I've been to Shays. I've been to Shays. Because I didn't go into Shays, but I went to the place right next to it. But that's on that downtown district, right?
Yeah.
In Shays. Yeah. So I bet you guys have like Broadway stuff here too. But I would say they're pretty much mostly the same. Yeah. I also know there's a couple acting agencies out here. as well. I personally don't have an agent or a manager. Personally, I would probably go somewhere like New York City or Boston to get management or be a part of an agency. I wouldn't really come to Syracuse or Buffalo to get hired as an agent because I don't really think, and maybe I'm wrong, but I don't really think Buffalo or Syracuse has the personnel for professional like New York City or LA or Chicago or Boston does. So film scene wise though, I think they're pretty much on the same scale, and yeah.
Where can people find you on social media, and what plans do you got for the future?
Well, you can find me on social media at Kaleb McConner. That's my Facebook and my Instagram. Well, I think Instagram is Kaleb McConner Official, actually. But you can find me on Kaleb McConner Official on Instagram and Kaleb McConner on Facebook. I also do have a YouTube channel, Kaleb McConner. I've done like a couple of vlogs, but they're not really. One video is actually pertaining to acting. So you can check me out on YouTube too if you'd like at Kaleb McConner. But yeah, I don't really do much on YouTube yet. To come, more to come. I'm actually creating my own podcast talking about acting and film, and going to have special guests on that act or write or sing or anything pertaining to the arts. And then I'm also going to make my own film production company called Visionary Motion Picture. So there's a lot of cool content coming, but I just don't know when I'll start it and how long it will be from now. But yeah, those are where you can find me on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube.
Kaleb, this was awesome. It was a pleasure. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Industrious Family is currently trying to raise $70,000 in crowdfunding. If you'd like to give, donate, or invest, you may go to industriousfamily.com or FABIOLAmovie.com, and you can follow them on Instagram at FABIOLA Movie Official.